Hello, and you're very welcome back to the P.S. Gilmore story, episode 55. And today we're going to start a new chapter in P.S. Gilmore's story, and it's going to be the story of his part in the Grand Army of the Republic, which is abbreviated to the letters GAR. Here's a reminder of part of Gilmore's duties in the army, which was carrying this Halstead litter, because the bands were literally the bearers of the injured to the tents for some medical care and so on. It says here, in an engagement, the members of the band attached to the different regiments act as assistants in the hospital department. We've heard from several sources of the efficient aid rendered by Gilmore's band at the Battle of Newburn in removing the wounded to the rear and administering to their necessities. Mr. Gilmore basically train them. And to get an idea of the type of life that these bands had, and by the way, this would apply to any of the infantry, any of the soldiers preparing for battle. They're in a camp somewhere with water supply, if they're lucky, very close by. And this is from my collection by a letter from Charles Ramsey to his wife at home and in Ohio. And so I'm going to read part of this letter out to you. It's dated November the 19th, 1861, from Camp Platt. We constructed a large heater between our two tents to keep us warm. The box with his boots, etc., arrived yesterday. Your little letter, although old, I was glad to get it, as I do like to read them. I often read your letters over. John Hawkins' wife sent 2 nice large cakes and some nice fresh butter. We divided it with the members of the band, and we had a regular feast for dinner. Troy, Cedarville, and Yellow Springs have all sent blankets. We are getting so that we play very well, and are highly praised by the officers for the progress we have made. Yet there are some in the band that will never make players. I see the weekly news received by Andy that Al and Gertie were married on the 13th of last month. I presume by this time that this reaches you, they will have returned and probably be settled in that dear little home of ours. Don't I wish that it was we that were going into it. I hear the band of the 5th Regiment from 5th Virginia Regiment playing for dress parade, and I presume we will soon get the call and have to go out and play. They're busy engaged in shoeing up the horses of the regiment. It's rumoured that we will leave in a day or two. A person cannot believe anything. The 44th Ohio Infantry served in Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Charles Ramsey was mustered out of service on the 8th of October 1862. And here is a ferrotype medal of P.S. Gilmore from 1864, and this is New Orleans. A beautiful little medal. And of course it's got Gilmore spelt with 2 L's. Here's almost a carbon copy of it, which was the medal, the ferrotype medal, which was produced for Lincoln's re-election, and this one actually in auction went for over $30,000. Here's a ferrotype medal for a later election for a very young-looking future President Ulysses S. Grant, good friend of Gilmore's throughout his life as well. And but we can't underestimate the part that portraiture, lithographs, and music played in the propaganda of the Civil War. Remember, there was no internet, there was no TV or your newspaper, if you were very lucky, would give you a report of a battle maybe 1 week after the battle, but probably 2 to 3 weeks. It was old news at this stage. Here's the Burnside expedition, and it's attributed to the officers and the men of the expedition to Roanoke Island. And one of those was P.S. Gilmore. And from there they went to New Bern, Tranter's Creek, Port Elizabeth, and elsewhere. And all of these events were recorded, as I said, in music, in lithographs, and so on. And they were very important to the men, not just to the men of the New England Guards, but to the men of every other Union regiment who wanted to know how's Burnside doing, how's whatever the general doing at this moment in time. This is propaganda. This is going to give them hope, give them something to look forward to the eventual victory and the eventual fall of the Confederacy. George Root was a wonderful composer who composed so much in regards the propaganda of the Civil War. On, the boys come marching. On the prisoner, the prisoner free song and chorus. It very poignant one. 'Tis sad to part from one so dear. Song and chorus. Imagine getting this to those that were lucky enough to have an upright piano or a square piano, and to sit down and start playing this, and obviously think about your brother, husband, cousin, friend, whatever. Very poignant. Here's a piece of music for the which obviously commemorates the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, A Nation in Tears. And the nation was not only in tears, but it was in shock. So we can't overestimate how important they realized that music was. I think General Lee said at one stage, give me a band and I'll give you an army. Ulysses S. Grant, who didn't particularly have any knowledge of music or appreciation for that matter, his favorite instrument was supposedly the drums, but he knew how important music was in bringing people together. Here's The Spirit of the North, composed by P.S. Gilmore. Look at those wonderful uniforms. I think it's the Zouaves uniform, Zouvaes. Very stylish. And here's another piece of music composed by Gilmore, Laura haunts my fancy still. So this was obviously maybe about a girlfriend or a friend, whatever. And how many men lay beside their tent writing letters home like Charles Ramsay to his wife and hoped that everyone was okay at home. Band recruiting officer P.S. Gilmore, leader of Gilmore's band, has to this day been appointed by Governor Andrew the general recruiting officer for the musical department of the Massachusetts Volunteers. This shows you the importance that music had in the Civil War. This happened in June of 1863. We will see the implications of this in a future part of this story. Here's a clear picture of the Spirit of the North and the Zouaves uniform with their magnificent, I can't get over their uniforms. I wonder how practical these uniforms were in the heat of battle, in the dirt of battle, in the mud of battle. A splendid pageant, and this refers to the inaugural address and military demonstration of flags, cannons and bells. And again, we'll hear about that in the next episode again. But that happened in New Orleans when Governor Michael Hahn was installed as the newly installed governor of Louisiana by the temporary government of Nathaniel Banks, General Nathaniel Banks and General Butler. And from 1863, a concert in Boston. This is another reference to the actual appointment of Gilmore as the general recruiting officer. And it finishes, this is an excellent appointment. Why? Well, Gilmore was extremely well known throughout the land, not just amongst the concert-going public, but to military men from the soldier, from the infantryman to the top of a command. Here's some of P.S. Gilmore's new songs just launched. God Save the Union, The Voice of the Departing Soul, Laura Haunts My Fancy Still, which we just saw, My Village Home, She Gave Me a Rose, What is Home Without a Baby? Here's a health to women dear. There are a few, it says, of the very latest and best songs and can be had in Gilmore and Russell. And so here is the P.S. Gilmore Ferrotype medal. We'll look at this in more detail as we go into part 2. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope also that you understand that this story is going to go somewhere in terms of the national memorial of those that fought in the Civil War. Please subscribe and click like, and I thank you very much for your time. Bye now.